So we are starting on lesson 13. That means this is our last regular week with all the regular assignments we've had. Week 14 next week is the conclusion week, and so there's not a discussion board, there's just some different assignments. So this is your last chance to just have a great time on the discussion board and have your regular assignments due. The topic for this week is on giving back, and with that topic I really like the application activity because it causes you to think about yourself and self-reflect on how you are doing when it comes to some different things you may not have considered. If you'll look at the first step in this activity is you have a self-assessment that President Clark walks you through to decide if entitlement is creeping or sneaking into your life. Excuse me. And there are different ways that it can be in our life that we don't even realize. I'm sorry, it's in my throat. The first one, if you're critical, overly critical of others. Do you look down on others? I think sometimes, even if we don't say it out loud or verbalize it, maybe we do catch ourselves looking at someone that might have something different than us, and that we look down on them. So just be honest. You don't. These are just questions to ask yourself. Is the word deserve used in your vocabulary? Sometimes we feel like we deserve something. I've worked hard, so I deserve this. Do you care too much about indicators of status and rank? I think sometimes we care more than we realize, or if we stop and truly ask ourselves. And maybe it's not an area that you struggle in, so if not, move along and see if there is an area when you ask these questions. If there's anything that you could improve, like if you're not recognized or blessed for doing something good, do you feel like, what about me, or that's not fair, why didn't I get that? Because that can be a thought that we might cross our mind, because we're not perfect. The last one, do you seek special treatment? Do you think you deserve something differently for some reason? So you review that and then look through all of these items. Okay, you see all of these? This is material, resources that help relate to those questions. So you'll see here's question 1, if you're critical of others. There are 4 options. If you feel like that's an area that, I don't think anyone intentionally is critical, but sometimes we can catch that natural man being critical of others, then I would suggest viewing one of these, because it says read through material and select 2, okay, of the items, so at least 2. And like it says, some applies to the questions that were in our self-assessment. The main question is noted, so some apply to more than just one, but the main one is noted there, like question 2. You might find that one of them fits 3 and 4. So look through and pick 2. Okay, we're picking 2, and click on it, listen to that, and I really enjoy all of these. So if you want to do more than 2, you can do that. Then it says just write some notes from your items, and here spend a few minutes to review your notes from your 3 selected items. That is an error in the design of this assignment, so ignore that and just follow the directions that it already told us, where you only have to select 2 to study. You can select any 2 items. So when this says 3, just imagine, think about 2 items. And maybe you did more, but review your notes that you took when you reviewed 2 of those, and you're going to report on 2 of them. You'll download the template, answer these questions, and then submit it. So what's the title of your first selection, and then what you learned, and the title of your second one, and then some other questions on 5 and 6. So I hope that it's a fairly one that explains itself this week. This assignment doesn't have too much conflict. Just make sure that you're doing 2. That's usually where students lose points, is if they only did 1. And let me just, let's see, sorry, I'm going to download this and open it up real quick. as you look here, you can just type right into there, and if you'll look at the directions, it just says type your answers in the form onto the form in this space that says click here. So luckily with this one, it does not give a specific sentence requirement, so if it takes you 2 or 3 sentences, it's up to you. However many sentences you need to answer those questions. So that's your guide there. And the last thing I want to talk about is just with it being so close to the end, we have this final week, like I said, or not final, we have this week, 13. The next week is our final week, 14, and it ends. There's a couple things due the day after the gathering, but most things are due that Thursday night. And so we really have less than 2 weeks. So can you believe you've gotten this far? You are almost done with your first semester in the Pathway program, and so I'm just so proud of the hard work that a lot of you have gone through, the scary, intimidating feelings at the beginning with learning new content, new information, and in a new language, or a language that is not your native language, and so I respect and honor all of you. The one suggestion I have is when you are looking, make sure one helpful place is just always that content page. I always start with there. Slide down to the left. When I go to the conclusion, let's see, there. Hide my face so I'm not blocking any of the dates. So you'll see here it will walk through the things that are due next week. When it's due, sometimes it'll show you when it starts. So you'll see July 13th. So you can even start this week doing the final exam practice test, and you can take that as many times as you want. Final exam you just take one time, but if you are finding that you have some extra time this week, I would recommend doing the exam practice as earlier so that you have more time to prepare for that final exam. So you'll just see how there's some things that I'll tell you when they start, and some of them start this week. Attending the gathering, then you'll see that there's no post-gathering folder because you don't have assignments due after the gathering. Like I said, there are a couple that may be just, I think the final evaluation that is, you have an extra the day after the gathering to get that in, and even the attendance report. So it tells you it's due the 21st. Okay, so and there's the calendar is also a good place to go. So as you look, the 21st, that is the Friday. They give you that day because they figure you're Thursday night attending the gathering. Some of you live far away by the time you get back, so they give you, it's not due until the day after your gathering to report that you attended. Let's see if I can get back to that. So, and you'll see July 21st, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So make sure you're seeing that it's due the next morning, so that way if you get back late and you want to do it early in the morning, or it's 1 in the morning by the time you get back, you can do it. Okay, so that is everything. Let me know as you have questions with the final less than 2 weeks, and as you are looking at your grade. I'm working hard this week. I always am just trying to keep up on the current assignments, and then as I have time I try to go back and catch any that for some reason didn't get graded. Either they got overlooked, or sometimes there's a button that's published that I have to click, and if save gets hit instead, it doesn't publish your score so that you can see. And so I've scored it, but it's not able for you to see it. So sometimes that's the problem. So I will be trying this week to clean all that up and catch any of those, so I make sure all of my grades are submitted up to this point of what we've done. But let me know. Send me emails with questions or concerns. I'm always here to help. So have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye.